Okay, great. Good afternoon, everybody. Great. I remember doing this last year, and here we are again. I promise you this is going to be an amazing session, right? Apart from the fact that we have some of the best in the creative space on stage, it's also particularly a very interesting topic. Please put your hands together for my panelists again. Okay, I was thinking Meshkiey was going to wear the the famous wig. So it's good to see you all. So today this panel session is a fusion of discussing the future of Afro-Crerativity and also the influence of authenticity in the global creator economy. So you find out that if you travel to, say for example, you travel to a non-English or Yoruba or like Nigerian language speaking country, and you get to go to a lounge, and then you hear them play some Spyro song. There's a way it will make you feel connected, right? And this is what is happening to almost everybody in the world. There's a way that creativity and content and the creative space is reshaping and redefining how people look at people and how people look at things. So I'm going to give an instance. So when we were growing up, right, Korea used to be that very fighting country. It was just about a lot of, fight and all of that. But if you look at, if you think about Korea right now, what comes to your mind? Right? And so you're thinking love, you're thinking your favorite characters, because there's something that redefining and there's something that the creative space in Korea has done to the economy itself. So much so that apart from even liking the K-drama and Korean people and crushing over the guys and the ladies, sometimes you might even want to buy their products. So this is going to be a fun time, and I want to welcome all of you once again. Thank you for deciding to join us at Crest. Please put your hands together for them again. So I have some interesting statistics that are mind-blowing. And that's where we're going to start from. So it says that the African creative industry is worth over $58 billion right now. And Afrobeat streams over 13 billion, has over 13 billion streams globally. And Nollywood is now the world's second largest film industry. And then almost every TikTok trend right now starts from Nigeria. So the conversation is, how we're not just joining trends anymore, but we're leading them, we're redefining them. So I'm going to start from, who do I start from now? So I'm going to start from Meshkiey. So Meshkiey, what does Africa to the world mean to you?
Africa to the world. Can we start from somebody else?
I'm sure everybody wants us to start from you.
Do you guys want me? Can I just get inspo from somebody else? Okay, anyway, Africa to the world, right? So, good afternoon, everybody. Good to be here. So I believe from the statement itself, Africa to the world, it means taking the lead, right, from Africa and taking it on to the global, stage. So I just believe from the word that it implies is creating trends, putting the continent, that is Africa, on the map, that's letting the world know that there's a place as Africa, and it's not just for the stereotypes of people that climb trees and different type of other things that they believe Africa is known for. So it's just putting Africa on the world map where it should be, but for tangible reasons and for like important things. So basically that.
Thank you so much. Please put your hands together for him. I think I want Ruby to take same question. What does Africa to the world mean to you? I'd like to take it round, with all my panelists. What does Africa to the world mean to you?
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here and speak with you all. I believe Africa to the world means, just like Meshkiey said, Africa being at the forefront of the creative industry, which, if you notice, he mentioned something and it sparked something in my head. Before, when people talk about Africa, all they think about is monkeys. They think about chimpanzees. They think about bushes. They don't think a solid music industry. They don't think a global film industry. They don't think a global fashion industry. But now, Africa is more than just Africa. Africa, when you hear Africa, people in the diaspora, when you travel, people say, "Oh, are you from Africa?" Africa is a whole lot more than just being Africa. There's Nigeria, there's South Africa, who's also doing so well in the creative industry. So that, for me, that's what Africa to the world is. It's simply Africa dominating in different spheres of the creative industry.
Thank you, Theresa.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. So before I answer this, just go head on to this question, I want to give a very special shout out to Oladipupo Okubanjo, the founder and CEO of Ant Clock. And there's a reason. 7 years ago, when I moved to Lagos, I moved because I would say it was an instruction. And the person that God used to give me that instruction was Oladipupo Okubanjo. So he's the one that brought me to Lagos. He's the one that, made me see the things that I am now manifesting and exhibiting right now. So I'd really like to give a special shout out to him, please. And I'd like everybody here to put your hands together to Deepo. What does Africa to the world mean? There is a way this conversation will go, and you would understand that it really means you have a light and do not put it under a bushel. Do not put it under a bed. You have a light, it is your responsibility to shine. As opposed to what a lot of people think now, that Africa was the dark continent. I'd like to bring something to our attention. There was a time where, if you look at history, it is clear when you read and understand that Africa had so much potential that the West was afraid of it. Because they were afraid, they found ways to divide and conquer, right? And they understood the potential. I mean, guys, when you read history, you find out that we were really thriving in our continent, in our land, and we did not need any disruption, right? When we study, we see the history of architecture in kingdoms like the Benin Kingdom. It was magnificent, History still has it that the richest man ever was King Mansa, who ruled, I think that was Mali, where we have current Timbuktu. Africa was never poor. The West did everything they could do, to put us as the bad people, to make us look like the quote-unquote dark continent. So there was never a time that we lacked something in our identity. There wasn't an insufficiency in our identity. We were forced to believe that. What does Africa to the world mean now? It means that we are owning that sufficiency that is in our identity, and we are making every effort. Every effort means in our art forms, music, film, poetry, even paintings, we are making every effort to own that identity, own that sufficiency, that richness in who we are, and sharing it back to the world. Hey, Africa is the motherland. Somebody says the world started from Africa, and yes, that is where we are. So that is the narrative that we are pushing now. Africa, the motherland to the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Spyro, please.
Good afternoon. It's so good to be here today. Shout out to Meshkiey. I never thought that Meshkiey had this get sense. I don't know, say you get sense, honestly. My idea of Meshkiey now, yes, every day I watch your skit, by the way, and I'm like, this guy is stupid. But it's it's surprising that I'm here and Meshkiey is on this panel with, this is not a shade to Meshkiey. He understands what I mean. But then again, shout outs to you. He said it all. He has summed it all up. When you say Africa to the world, what are we saying? Let me use the scripture to expatiate further, which is the Bible says we are the light of the world. So, I think that is self-explanatory. So Africa to the world is a showcase of Africa to the world at large. So and when you think of that, one of the first things that comes to mind is when you think of Nigeria, for example, you think Afrobeat, right? You think Wizkid, you think Burna Boy, or you who else do you think of? Don't be biased. Because I'm here, it says Spyro. You think Davido, you think Wizkid, you think Burna Boy, you think Olamide, you think Spyro, you think Young John, and this is to tell you that the world now is receptive to whatever it is that Africa has to offer. It has not always been like that, because growing up for me, I remember how, I don't know who remembers Kenny's Music. Back then, Kenny's Music used to be like the biggest record label back then. And, they never even got invites to, what's it called, to the Grammys. So they used to stream from outside. They say, right now we are live at the Grammys. It's a lie. They were not really there. They were just outside interviewing, people on the red carpet. Pretty much they could not get access, but they were the ones that opened the door. They made people pay attention, because after that we saw the likes of Two-Face Idibia. I'm trying to narrow it down to entertainment in Nigeria so that we understand properly. And then we started to see the likes of Two-Face, we started to see the likes of The Bunch, the likes of P-Square, now doing so great. And now they've opened the door up, in such a way that now you can't talk about Africa without talking about good music, and that is, I think that is what Africa to the world means, like an exposure, a showcase of African elements, a showcase of African talent, a showcase of African content to the world itself at large, yeah.
Thank you. Please put your hands, clap if you want to clap. So Tomiwa, I think I want to, it's still the same question, but Spyro did eat on a point, which is like, right now, everybody seems to be noticing us. That's even very undeniable, right? From the brand perspective, what do you think makes African content so magnetic right now? Why do you think that suddenly, everybody wants to, even promoters abroad want to, work with us, everybody wants to work with an African influencer. What is the juice that is making us so attractive right now?
Hi everyone again. Short and sweet it is amazing, right? So when you think about, and I like what Spyro said, when you think about what we used to export before, we used to try to overcompensate, right? We would count it privilege to be given a seat at the table, right? Today, if we don't have a seat at the table, there's no table, right? It's no longer privilege. We've taken we're at the table. We've taken everything that is, woven into our identity, and we've owned it. We're now telling our own stories. Nobody's apologetic about, singing in Yoruba anymore, right? If now they have to go and, read about the lyrics, learn the translation,
learn about our slangs,
right? And our localization has been, our very essence. You see, cultural appropriation from even brands like Louis Vuitton, taking Kintende from Kenya and trying to make it their own. And before now, what would have happened is we would have celebrated it as success. Louis V is showing off, Gucci is showing off, African prints. But no, we're saying no. You cannot, appropriate our culture. It belongs to us. It's our identity. And that's the thing that brands are saying, right? Because Africa is also, fastest growing continent, exports, the best talents, and has very authentic, genuine stories that connect, right? Even with a global audience. So you see music, year on year, we're seeing over 115% growth in, global listenership to African music, right? The opportunity is also African. You see most brands looking at, the upwardly mobile population of Africa as, opportunity. How do you connect to this audience if it's not African? How do you tell these stories if it's not truly African? So that's what we're seeing. And, for every brand that is looking to, sustainably grow, right, in the West, they've most likely climaxed, right? So if they're looking at the opportunity, they're looking at, people like Meshkiey, they're looking at people like Spyro to connect deeply with, Africans, then they have to do it right, with us telling our stories. And that's what we're seeing today. That's the trend that we're seeing today, and it's sustainable. That's the trend that's going to take us into the next, 50 years. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. So I want to delve a little into authenticity because, Spyro is very well prepared to speak about that. So how do you balance being inspired by global trends while keeping your music authentically Nigerian? Because we're all trying to sell global right now. Nobody's trying to stay local. But how do you balance both?
How do you balance, come again?
How do you balance being inspired by global trends while keeping your music authentically Nigerian?
Honestly, I won't say that I'm inspired by global trends. So I draw inspiration from here, from Africa, from Nigeria, pretty much, from my environment, so I see a lot of people try to draw trends, follow trends and all that, which is why we are in a lot of trouble today as a country, and as a people, because people abroad are wearing spaghetti. Oh, our girls also want to wear spaghetti. You understand what I mean by spaghetti now? Because someone is wearing crop top, you really do not understand the mindset. You really do not understand why they are wearing it. Because sometimes when you walk up to some of these people and you ask them, why are you doing this? You cannot explain. You understand? But you can copy results, but you can't copy grace. You can copy people's results, but what you should know is that where is it coming from? What inspired them? Because when I was going to start out, professionally get into the industry, for example, I'm also going to use Meshkiey here. Meshkiey is authentic. His brand is a foolish person's brand. Do you understand? No. It makes money from being a clown. And I'm watching and I'm like, I love my my girlfriend will not let me rest about, they say, this guy again. I was watching one where he wore Fashion Week. What were you thinking, bro? But the point is, now, get the point. Now, he's able to, trust me, everyone is watching Meshkiey's content. Everyone. Trust me. Whether they are following him or not. For example, I'm not following Meshkiey, right? But his contents get to me, although I'm going to follow him after today, But what I'm trying to say is that everyone watches his content. Why? And I'm sure when it started, people will say, this thing, you can't go far with this thing. Why are you just being stupid? Why are you just being crazy? Why are you just being, but he's stuck to that brand, and that is why Meshkiey is Meshkiey today. Honestly, I'm not joking. I don't think any day passes by without me watching Meshkiey's content. Trust me. I'm being honest here. because it just gives me joy and makes me happy, makes me, and that is the point. So a lot of us, we try to copy, E is different. When I started, they said, how can you come into the industry? You are saying you are a Jesus boy. It has never been done before. It has never, we cannot make money. In fact, a lot of, on a fateful morning, my team members called me. They started a meeting. They said, this your Jesus boy brand is not working for us. We are not making money. This brand is not going to make us money and all that. Let's change it, because as I then I had Christ Ambassador on my profile. They said, let's change it because people are not working with us because of this brand. And I told them something. I said, I would rather die than remove this thing from my profile. And I remember as at that time, my business partner's wife also joined in on the conversation. He said, what we are trying to say is that maybe you can make it, you can tone it down a bit. Instead of saying Jesus, Christ Ambassador, maybe you can use Son of God, or Child of God, just to make it generic. But I said, I'm not going to do that. In fact, I'm not even going to go and change it from Christ Ambassador to Jesus Boy. And that was how the Jesus Boy brand came up. And this is the point. They that know their God shall be strong and do exploits. Now, I'm taking the point somewhere. There's something that influences your authenticity. So I see a lot of people starting businesses, based on the fact that their friends are doing same business. Everybody is doing makeup now. Why? What are you? I'm a moi. Why are you a moi? Because this person is doing makeup. What are you? I'm a fashion designer. Why? Vicky James inspired me. Whatever business or whatever you want to do, you have to make sure that you're thinking of, you have to be authentic. You have to come from a place of understanding what you want to do. It has to come from a place of deep revelation. For example, I do not drop a song, I don't release any song without first going into prayers to say, okay, God, should I even drop this song in the first place? It might sound stupid. It might sound unreasonable. So I will drop the song, for example, and the song becomes successful, and someone else sees me and say, I also want to go and drop a song because, Spyro dropped this song. What you are trying to do is copying my results, but you're not, you don't know what I do in closed doors. A lot of people that you are envying, they go to the herbalists. I hope you know. Let me remove my shades. I hope you know that a lot of people that you are copying in this space do fetish things just to keep their business afloat. Those are the type of people that you are copying. So when he said copying, when he said, how are you able to, going back to the question now, how are you able to, balance your authenticity with, come again please, with global trends. And I answered, I do not copy global trends. I do not copy trends, right? I create trends. I'm a pace setter. Whatever, even if and that is, you can clap if you want to clap. And that is how every one of us should be. Because it's trending and because everyone is doing it does not mean that you should also jump on it. You have to know something. You have to come from a place of conviction. You have to be sure that, okay, I want to do this, and then, just do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Please put your hands together for him again. So Meshkiey, right? Meshkiey, you've gotten free product placement at Crest, and we should get a percentage, I promise you. Because if this content of Spyro's endorsement goes out, we would copyright it and flag it. But yeah, so my question to you is, do you think we're driving the culture for a global appeal? Or do you think that we're driving content from mostly the commercial angle? Or, from the creator economy perspective, are we intentional about selling Africa? Or when we're just thinking about how do I make people laugh? Or, how do I make this trend, right? Do you think that there's an intentional way of trying to reposition Africa globally from the creator perspective?
Okay, so I can't speak for everybody else in the industry. I would speak for what I've seen mostly, because people are trying to people see content creators and there's a stereotype that once I start creating content, I'll start making the money they're making to buy the cars they're buying and the houses they're buying. So the motive of aspiring creators, they have, the motive of, oh, I want to be able to create content, to be able to buy and to achieve this thing, which is fine. Like, if that's what you want to do, that's okay. Do you get? But looking at the long term, that's looking at in the long run, like growing. So I would start by saying people are focused more on blowing than growing. And I heard this from Nasboy. He said that like some days back. So it's not me. It's not me. It's not me that said it. So people are more focused on blowing than growing. And growing is that you've been doing the same thing, that you are ready for the time you blow. Meaning that once you blow, there's more. Like there's more to offer, you understand? Someone like Ashake, for example, now, people have been saying that, Umoh, this guy just, from when he started, he just started going. Like, I feel like he had prepared for where he is now then, so that when the time comes, you now have like something to sustain you to the point of like growing, you understand? So I feel like a lot of creators have the motive of they want to go into the content space to make money and to just blow locally. So now my mindset is I started content creation like close to seven years ago, I think, yeah. And I started it with cruise. I've always been that foolish guy, like Spyro said, yeah. In school, people call me that foolish guy. This guy is just so foolish. Sometimes I will say some foolish things and they would, my seniors or my mates would pursue me and like drive me out of the place. So people came to meet me and they were like, I think you should, like, if there is a camera following you about, I just feel like you would make so much, not money, but you would have audience from people just viewing your normal daily life, which is normally awkward. Like, I'm very awkward and I can be very cringe in real life. So I started off as cruise, and I did not think that I would start making money, but I felt like there would be a stage where I would get to, and people would watch me and they would have to pay or something like that, like monetary stuff will come in. But that was not my aim going into the content space. And now looking at the global scale, I was an aspiring actor. So I would go for auditions and they'll make fun of me because why does everybody on the audition, like there are 100 people auditioning for a role and it now gets to my turn. Everybody has a script, it now gets to my turn and you're saying, don't worry, just bust our heads. Like there's no script for me. So like there's nothing I want to do that would not look foolish to them. So I would do that and they will make fun of me that, bro, I think you should. There was a time I went for an audition and the guy said, what do you think you're doing? What's this nonsense? And I think they made jest of me and they sent me away. And I said to myself, I'm like, leaving this place, I'm going to make a name for myself to the point that I may not even need to go for auditions anymore. So I took it as a challenge to myself. I did not feel bad because of that, because they were only doing their jobs. Nobody would employ you if you're not, or nobody would recruit you if you're not doing amazing, do you get? So I saw content creation as the means to the end, which is I would create content for people to see me, to be visible enough for the people in the movie industry to also notice that, oh, this guy can act, this guy can do this very well, and then I would now go into that phase of my life, which is me thinking ahead, so not just being a content creator, but also an actor, and to be seen by people in the global stage. So now I get comments from people saying love from Zambia, love from Tanzania, love from the UK, love from the US, you understand? And it makes me so excited, like it makes me happy. Like every comment makes me happy. But when I see those things, like people from outside the country, even some white people send me DMs and they're like, they enjoy my stuff and all. And that has made me, even when I was applying for auditions back then, my aim and my goal was to go on a global scale, to be a very big actor and also a producer. So now, a lot of people are thinking locally, which is, let me just blow in Nigeria. But me, I'm thinking, after creating content here and collaborating with Nigerian creators, I'm thinking also traveling out to also collaborate with people on that scale. And I mean, the best way to grow as creators is to collaborate, I think. Yeah, that's like the best way to grow. So imagine a Meshkiey and a Kevin Hart in a skit together. You understand? Like, I'm already imagining it and it's giving me goosebumps. So now, like, a lot of people are not thinking that way, and that's okay. Like, they just want to be in their own lane. They don't want to. People are scared of making big steps and all of that. So I just feel like, for myself personally, I would just say that is how I see myself going globally, and that is how I want to just see myself on that global scale. So I cannot answer for everybody in the industry that is trying to just create skits to just make people laugh and all. Like, there's also a quest to also prefer solution through content creation for me in society, which is, in the long run, it's very, it's good. Yeah. So thank you.
Great. Please put your hands together for him. Hi, Ruby. Yeah. Do you have your mic, please? Okay, great. Nollywood is currently the second biggest film industry in the world, right? I'm going to ask you two questions in one. First, how does it feel to be a part of that movement as a young actor or actress, or as a young actor rather? And then, do you think that African stories are being told more authentically now, or you think that we're still editing ourselves to fit into global perspective or being liked globally? First, how do you feel? How does it feel being a part of that move, knowing that you have a chance to be a part and recreate or create that narrative?
Okay, so I grew up watching a lot of Nollywood and a lot of Hollywood as well. Like, the era where you buy the CDs and use what's it called? The CD player. So literally, my aunt and my aunts in my aunt's house and with my siblings, we watch all the films in the nearby store. So we have to wait till when he brings another batch. So that's like how much of Nollywood I was consuming. So, to grow up doing that and then now being able to be part of the change in Nollywood, part of the greatness that Nollywood is being noticed for, is such an honor for me, because I can't tell you, like, a lot of people have all these stereotypes about Nollywood. Like the other day, I was doing a meet and greet at Filmhouse Cinemas for my new film, Three Cold Dishes. It's the biggest Pan-African film. And some cinema goers, they were like, oh, I don't watch Nigerian movies. I said, my darling, this one is not, because I knew what she was talking about. She wasn't just addressing it as, oh, okay, it has Nigerian cast and it's made by a Nigerian production company. She was still seeing Nollywood as that Nollywood. And so I tried to address that quickly. I told her this is not that Nollywood you think in your head. This Nollywood, for me, has gone so far ahead. We're talking about films like Three Cold Dishes. We're talking about Black Book. We're talking about Anikulakbo. We're talking about Ijogbon. We're talking about lots of great things coming out from Nollywood. So, like, to be a part of that change is for me, is such a privilege. And to your second question?
Yeah, to my second question.
What was it again?
Do you think our stories are being told more authentically now?
Honestly, I feel more now than ever, Nollywood is coming into, into like showcasing ourselves in our true form. Like, not to mention again, like some of the films that I just mentioned, we're not trying to sell Nigerian culture as, okay, something that should fit into a global sense of quality or taste. We're selling it as what it is. Look at Kunle Afolayan and what he is doing with Cap. he's selling Yoruba culture to the world, and he's not coming to water it down to, fit a certain standard that, okay, because, like, truth of the matter is, some of these well-loved Hollywood stories are mostly African stories revamped to fit a Western culture. Take, for instance, Thor. You know that Thor is simply Shango, Abi? Thor is the god of thunder. Shango is the god of thunder. Me, I don't know about, much about Western culture, but, like, when you dip it, like, it's... But if you make a film about Shango, now everybody's like, I better go. It's demonic, is this... But it's what you're literally watching in Thor, God of Thunder. So it's like Nollywood were finally coming into that space where we're not ashamed, we're not afraid to, be our true selves. And that's honestly beautiful. I'm seeing films like... Labake. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm not Yoruba. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You see what we're glowing, we're like basking in our culture, our identity, who we are. We're not trying to fit that global, taste anymore. And like I watched some throwback films from Nollywood, and you see them trying to fake an accent. I'm like, that's what we used to do, but now we're not doing that anymore. If we're being Yoruba, we're being Yoruba. If we're being Igbo, we're being Igbo, and being Edo, we're being Edo. So, like, it's for me right now, Nollywood is fully coming into telling our stories with a real level of authenticity.
Thank you. That was so great. Thank you. Hi, Theresa. So my question is, what is one thing that you think the creative industry needs more of right now? The African creative industry, right? What's one thing you think we need more of right now?
One thing I am so certain, without any iota of doubt.
And one of the reasons why I'm asking you this is because, you have a background of working with TikTok, so I'm sure you understand algorithm, and all of those things. So that's what I'm asking.
So one thing I am really certain we need now in our creative industry, without an iota of doubt, is we need support and proper infrastructure from the government. Now, let me break that down. If we are paying close attention, a lot of individuals and organizations are making things happen from their little spaces and places, to ensure that, okay, at the very least, people earn from the work that they do, from all the efforts that you've put into, your craft, I beg your pardon. Inputs must produce outputs now. So individuals are setting up startups. There are so many online right now. It's like every moment I scroll, I'm seeing, a startup built for creators so that they can earn their worth. I'm only thinking, if our government can do this, life would be easier. Life would be better for everybody that is getting into this industry. And a bit more context is, back in the 70s, back in the 80s, record labels, the record labels, the homes to them, King Sunny Ade, Victor Nwaifo, there is something that held them back from, expanding, which was, things happened in that time in the country that, let me even make it clear, there was the war, there was also the military coup, and the gross instability. Now, we don't have that. So the question is, what is the excuse, If we're going to pay tax, can we see at least what our tax is doing for us, Can data be better? Because that is, if there's no data, there's no way we can push our content out there, right or wrong? So can data be better? Can light be better? Can transportation be better? Because goods and services need to move. Yes, we understand that, there's the internet. You can reach people at wherever. But think about it. If we had better road structures, if we had security properly sorted out, not the ones that we have to take responsibility for, we would have a laser focus on this is what I am doing, and this is what I enjoy doing. Not having to think so hard about, okay, how do I protect myself? How do I protect my for lack, which word will I use now? Say you are an artist that produces physical items, you're also going to think about how do you protect your physical items. So I really think that our government can step up. Let it not be audio, because yes, there's the argument that, oh, we're doing things. Bring it down. Let the average man benefit from these things. Let the average man be the ambassador, be the voice to tell you, oh, I'm a beneficiary of this thing, and the government is working. Thank you.
Like the impact can be felt on your skin and not just audio.
Speaking about this impact from top to bottom, it is possible. It is really possible, and I pray that it happens soon.
Amen. Thank you. So, Spyro, you speak a lot about staying true to your values and your music. In an industry, especially, the music industry, where there's a lot of pressure, how do you balance, pressure, fame, trend, global expectations in terms of even sexism and all of that? How do you balance that with staying authentic? Because, at the end of the day, I think that one of the things that we addressed last year is that creatives are also thinking commercially, right? And you cannot totally, as much as you're trying to drive change and all of that, for a typical creative here, and I hope I'm speaking your mind, they're also trying to think about what are the numbers saying. How do you balance all of this pressure of fame, of commercialization, making money with being authentic? How do you balance that personally?
That's a very crucial question. Can you guys hear me? Feels like I can't hear myself from here. How do I balance with the pressure of
fame, commercialization,
and all that? It's pretty simple for me. Like I said earlier on, when you know that this is what I want to do, when you know your way. For me, coming into this industry is not just to make people twerk. It's not just to make people dance. That put me in a lot of trouble when I dropped With Your Guy and I said, I'm not going to be posting people if they twerk to my song or if you're naked, if you're half naked and you are vibing to my song, I'm not going to post it on my page. So I feel like when you know from the get-go what you want to achieve, for me, it's all about making impact. It's all about making positive impact in the society. So that helps me. How do I explain it now? That helps me keep it together. So I know that, for example, there are some particular type of music that are trending in Nigeria now, and we all know it. I don't want to mention names before social media begin to trend me. And a lot of artists feel like if I don't do it this way, I'm not going to make money. And it also filters into every other business, that if I don't follow this trend, if I'm not making it commercial enough, but one thing I want to tell you is that there is success in you being authentic in itself. There's success in it. One of the things that stands me out, I saw something on Tunde not recently, and I made a skit, about it. Not a content about it. He said, artists where they do show for Nigeria now, they know past 7. And so I went out to my compound, pulled up the boot of my sports car, and I don't know how many people saw that video. I pulled up the boot of my car, and I was eating food. I had a lot of food there just to tell people that I'm not affected by the economy. Why? Because I've stayed true to my aim, my goal, my objective, my I'm authentic, right? And this is what that does for me. I only it's November and December now, so the kind of shows that I get, for example, when they are looking for artists that make clean music, I hope you know that it's not all shows that they can call some artist for. You know, because you don't want people coming around using some type of language around your kids, right? So when they are looking for artists, for example, I'm one of the few artists that graced Tony Elumelu's end of the year party in his house. Do you understand? You know, so I've been able to, because of my authenticity, it has given me an edge in the sense that I will always have events. There are some events that you can only call Chike, Spyro, and Johnny Drill for, yes or no. And there are some events that, those events, you won't just see Gbogbo there. You know, I would love to mention names, but I'm trying my best not to mention names. But yeah, do you understand what I'm saying? So my authenticity, initially when I started off, like I said, I didn't even finish the story I was saying before, how they tried to, my team members tried to change me from doing what I was doing. And eventually, one thing you need to understand is that when you eventually make it, when I now made it and, you know, money started coming in, those same team members now came, you know, because I started dragging them that, I thought you said this My Jesus Boy brand is not going to make money for us. I thought you said, and they say, we never saw it that way. We just wanted the best for you. You are doing well. You are doing all that. And one thing I want to say to someone here is, do not be moved by, and the Bible also says it, do not be blown away by every wind of doctrine. They say you go to one place now, one Baba say, hey, go and breathe. We are going to wash your head in the water. It's for 7 days before you can be successful in life. And you too, gullible, because you are gullible, you also carry your head. You carry it inside there. They are washing it with water. You know, where is that stated in your Bible, for example? You know, and this comes from people just being tossed here and there by every wind of doctrine. Stay in faith. Stay in what you know. I'm sorry, I'm a Jesus boy, so there's no way I will not link it to the scriptures. So stay in faith. Know what you want to achieve, you know, and at the end of the day, do not allow yourself be tossed by every wind of doctrine. Do not be pressured by, oh, this person is making $5 billion, you know, because they are making this type of product. This person is doing this thing because, so, I mean, I pretty much, to finally put an end to answer the question, to round it up, I'm not moved by whatever anybody does. You know, I know what I do, and I know my God, and I know that even if everybody is not making money in this country, me, I will make money. Why? Because for me, Jesus in itself is a strategy. The Bible says, lift Jesus high and he will draw men unto himself. You know, and that is my strategy. I lift Jesus high. If I fail, God fails, and God can never fail. So that's my strategy.
Amazing. Our time is almost up. I'm going to ask you this yes or no question. Have you always thought like this, or is this you evolving? It's just yes or no.
Is that me?
Yes. Have you always had this mindset, or you have evolved into this?
Yeah, I evolved into this. I've not always been this person. Yeah, I evolved into this.
Great, thank you. So, Tomiwa, I have a question from you, right? And this is drawn from, I know that, I mean, you do PR for brands, global brands, international brands. And there was a way we were having a conversation, and you mentioned how some people are on your mental cancel list, right? Because they do not align, like their personal brand online does not align with the type of things that you like your brands or like your clients would want to work with. So my question is, what do you have to say to a creative that is thinking of being a Spyro, a Meshkiey in global relevance? What do you have to say to them that they do not get into that cancel culture book of when for example, I mean, Truecaller didn't pay us for this, but when a Truecaller is looking for somebody or one of your brands, they are appealing enough beyond just followers and reach. And then the second question, I hope you can answer both in one, is what do you think the world still misunderstands about African digital culture? So my first question is, if you're speaking to a creative right now who is already a content creator and all that, but who wants to be able to appeal to the likes of international brands or big brands, what do you say to them? I mean, what do they look out for? And then what do you think the world still misunderstands about African culture, digital culture?
All right, thank you. So I would say, briefly, follow the Spyro model, right? And I think he's done excellently well. Because as a creator or a creative, you have to have values that you don't compromise on, right? I'll tell you a bit about how we pick, creators for brands globally, right? The level of work and, the detail that goes into it is like 3 months of work to even select, an influencer, right? Because you have to go back to, maybe their very first post. You have to, watch out for things like, using expletives. If they've said something, controversial in the past, you have to do it. You have to even check their family dynamics to see if, there's potential drama, if they're going to be counseled soon, if they're experiencing, family disputes, if, a wife or somebody in the family has mentioned, something about, harassment in the past. Like, it is that deep. Because every partnership is not, a one-off, right? Global brands look at it, in lifetime value. So you have to have values that you don't compromise on. There are people that, on the surface, because they have very impactful engagement rates, right? You see creators that have more than 25%, engagement rate. And ideally, you think about, their follower counts that, this guy will be perfect, in getting this brand story out there. But when you check deeply, maybe in 2013 or 2014, they said something about, rape. And they're counseled, can never be worked with, can never be touched again. So you need to be intentional about what you're doing today because it will speak for you tomorrow. So that's to the first thing. The second one is, I think the challenge is 54 nations, right? 54 different countries, different languages, different, local context and nuances, but we're all boxed into Africa, right? So there's very limited understanding as to, why something that will work in Nigeria will not work in Egypt or will not work in Kenya. So, because I know that we're past time, the thing is, the West, celebrates, fleeting things like, virality. They celebrate results. They don't understand, what it takes to achieve those results. The level of, work that we have to put into it. She spoke to lack of infrastructure, right? They don't understand that. And we're the only ones that can educate them on that. So as against them just showing, poverty Africa, right? We need to continue to show them thriving, Africans. You need to continue to tell your story. There's one thing that, has stayed with me since 2015. It was a meeting that changed my life, right? I was with, my line manager. I was working at Kingmaker at the time. And, not 2015, 2019, 2020. I was in a meeting with him. We had done 1.6 million active users, right? Active users had never been done. It was at a CPA of 80 naira per user. And I wasn't, making a fuss about it. I wasn't celebrating. I wasn't tooting my own horn. I wasn't blowing my own trumpet. And he took me into a meeting room and he said, I'm going to fire you. And I could not understand why. Like, I've done, great work. Like, why am I getting stick for it? I should be getting carrots, right? And he asked me, a question. He said, there are 3 people, right? And you can contextualize it, in terms of us being creatives and, in terms of us, scaling what we create out of the continent. He said there are 3 people. There's the guy that, does great work, and everybody knows that he does great work. There's the guy that does great work and is waiting for people to discover that he does great work. And then there's the guy that doesn't do nothing, like faffs around, but positions and promotes himself like he's doing all the work. And he asked me, who do you think will go farthest in life? I said the first guy, obviously. And he said, who do you think would go farthest after the first guy? And naively, I said, the second guy, the guy that is doing great work, like me at the time, doing great work, and nobody knew that I was doing great work. And he said, you're wrong. See that third guy? That guy that is doing nothing would position. Every 2 years, they will change organization, they will change strategy, they will refine. So what I want to encourage you to do is, nobody's going to celebrate you more than you. Nobody's going to blow, your trumpet more than you. Nobody's going to understand you if you sit back and wait for them to understand you. They're going to tell your own stories for you. And that's what has happened, right? I had nieces that used to ask me, do you guys have ESPN in Nigeria? Like, because our perception is what she sees on TV. She sees, the downtrodden, part of Oshodi from, 10 years ago. They don't, as of a couple of years ago, they didn't think we had cable in Nigeria.
Yeah.
But see, now that we're telling our own stories, we're at the forefront, and I like what she said, we're at the forefront of telling our own stories, we're owning our own narratives, and we're unapologetic about it. They will begin to understand us more. So we're not supposed to fit into global context. The world is supposed to adapt to us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tomiwa. Thank you. Please put your hands together for my amazing panelists. Well, so I hope that this panel has taught us one thing, that Africa is not just following global trends. Africa is shaping global trends, and this is just the beginning. Thank you so much for listening to us. I hope you had a great time.